Perikutes Mishnah Vov. This is the last Mishnah of the long sugya of Mito, which we started actually in the previous Perik, Mishnah Hey, and this is the last one. Perikutes Mishnah Vov. Carrying on from the previous rules of the Mizron attached to the Mito, last Mishnah we discussed the case where the Mito was already Tomei, and we then attach a Mizron to a Mito which is already Tomei. And then, of course, the rule is the Mizron is Tomei as long as it is attached. Remove the Mizron, it becomes the Tumah of one darga down, as if it just touched the bed. Now we're dealing with a case where, similar to the Mishnah we had at the beginning of Mishnah Dalad, where the Tumah hits the bed when the Mizron is already on. But instead of dealing with the complications of Medras, we're going to deal with the easy cases of that Tumah being a Tumas Maga, in other words, a case of Tumas Mace. Mito shekarach lo Mizron. You have a Mito which has a Mizron wrapped around it. So basically, you've got a case of two Kelim which are mechuber. And both these Kelim are royal to Tumas Mace. V'noga ben a mace touches whichever one it does. Tmein Tumas Shiva, they both, because they are mechuber, they both become an Abba Tumah, Tomei Tumas Shiva, the 7-day Tumah. Pirishu, they then separate, still Tmein Tumas Shiva, because they got the Tumas Shiva because the mace touched them, and when the mace touched them, they were then one unit. So each one has actually become Tomei Tumas Shiva. Separating them doesn't change that fact. Each one remains with his Tumas Shiva. And if we're not dealing with mace, we're dealing with a classic Ava Tumah, Noga ben Asheretz, Tmein Tumas Erev. Asheretz touched the Mito when it was attached to the Mizron, so at that point they both become a Rishon and a Tumah. Pirishu, you split them, same rule, Tmein Tumas Erev, they both keep their original Rishon and Tumah which they picked up when the Sheretz touched them. And the last ball in the over, the last case of Mito. Let's go back right to the beginning. When we said the basic rule in Perikut Ches Mishnah Hey, that when you have a Mito and you dismantle it, the Mishnah went through a machlokes between the Tanna Kamma and Nechemia. Basically, when you dismantle a Mito, and your intention is to put all the pieces back together again, and all the pieces are there, it's a case of Kulan Kayamos without a Lachazira, then we know the Mito keeps even in its broken state, even in its dismantled state, the Mito keeps the old Tumah. Says the Mishnah, you've actually taken, you've dismantled the bread. You've taken off the two long poles on the sides. You've even replaced them with new ones. That doesn't matter. It's not the new ones that will keep the tumah. It's because of the fact that the bed is still in pieces ready to be reassembled. Putting new ones, nothing changes. As long as you don't change the holes, you leave the old holes in place so that if you took off the aruchos chadoshos, you could still attach the old aruchos. Therefore, the mitzvah still date lachzira, and therefore the mitzvah, the old tumah carries on. If it is ishtabru chadoshos, if the new aruchos break, tmeah because they're not relevant, the new ones. If the old ones are still able to be put back on because the holes are not changed, the bed stays tomei as it was. The yeshono is tahira. However, if the old ones break, even when they're off the bed just becomes immediately like that. The bed becomes tahor. This is the most unusual case. You can have a bed in England, a bed which is tomei. Something happens in Brazil, and this bed here becomes tahor. What happens? The bed here had its original aruchos taken off and taken to Brazil, right? So the bed which remains here stays tomei under the rules which we always said. And then when the bits which were taken off, which are now in Brazil, get broken, immediately the bed which remained here, becomes tahor. It's the old aruchos which determine the status of the bed, and when they're gone, the status of the bed collapses, and therefore the bed is tahor. Hadron aloch, the sugya of Mitzvah Shem will carry on with Mishnah Zayin towards the end of the period, with again amazing and very fundamental dealing of Kelim.